Hi, everyone. I'm so glad we're having this conversation. Amy is one of my favorites. And when she brought up this topic of celebrating you, I thought it was so relevant. I'm not going to talk too long because Amy has some great knowledge to share, so I want to focus on her. But just a little bit of story. I was raised not to brag and taught that hard work is always recognized. That was my ethos. What I realized, though, was in corporate America, hard work isn't always recognized. And a lot of times, sometimes your boss or different people within the organization, coworkers, will actually take the credit sometimes. And unless you are promoting yourself, you can't expect others to promote you, especially in the corporate world. That's just kind of a side note. This conversation is really about celebrating you. It's not about other people per se. It could be, but I just want to outline that because being in the corporate world, what I've realized being an Asian American in the corporate world is that I needed to really be able to acknowledge my wins and celebrate my wins, and that it wouldn't always be recognized by other people. And so if it wasn't always recognized by other people, I had to make sure that I recognize myself. And that's just something I wanted to just bring up. Without further ado, today's discussion is on celebrating you with Amy Yip. Amy is a certified life transformation and mental fitness coach. She's a keynote speaker and a facilitator. She works with leaders worldwide to let go of their shoulds and rewrite their narratives, because it's important for you to be the author of your own story. Because if you don't tell your story, someone else will. And after 16 years leading global teams at organizations like Google, Booz Allen Hamilton, and Clorox, she left the corporate world in January of 2020. I think you know where this is heading. She sold all of her belongings in New York City and took a one-way flight to Ghana with her husband to volunteer at a nonprofit. The plan was to volunteer until May, then travel the world. But COVID changed all those plans, and she ended up stuck in Ghana for 7 months. One of her greatest learnings on her life journey so far is this: your mindset and not your circumstances make all the difference in your happiness and success. So mental fitness helped her find the courage to pursue her dream, pivot her dreams during COVID, and discover the gift and opportunity in every circumstance. She is an International Coach Federation professional certified coach. She's also a certified Hudson Institute coach. She is one of the pioneer mental fitness coaches to be certified through the Positive Intelligence Institute. She has coached a range of clients from executives to new leaders and individual contributors to really find their voice and the courage to speak up, build self-confidence, navigate change, discovering what they want next in life and career, and identifying their authentic leadership styles. Without further ado, drum roll. Welcome, Amy, back to Community of Seven. So excited to have you here.
Excited to be back. All right, so I actually have some slides. Can you see those?
We can see it.
Awesome. Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you, Lan, for the awesome introduction. I'm so excited to be here. And today's topic is around the art and science of celebrating you. Yes, you, because you deserve to be celebrated. What we will cover today is what celebration is all about, why does it even matter, and then how can I celebrate myself each and every day. So I will be asking questions, there will be exercises for you to do. At the end, I'm actually going to ask you to do something which will require a blank piece of paper and a pen. So if you don't have something, I encourage you to go get a piece of paper and a pen right now, but you will have an exercise to do at the end of that. So before we get started, I want to share a little about who I am. So this is me. I'm Amy, and I love celebrating life. I am super playful. I do silly things like kiss cows' butts like this photo, but that was not always the case. So I wasn't always this person that would celebrate myself. And So I was born into a very traditional Chinese household. I was the youngest of three daughters, and that little girl with a bowl cut in the red, that would be me when I was young. And so when we were young, we were taught, much like Lan was saying, we were taught to work hard, that people will notice us if we work hard. And I was verbally taught it, but more importantly, I saw my immigrant parents also working hard so that they could be successful, so that they could have financial security. They never took a break. So I grew up finding it hard to celebrate myself. I used to honestly think that celebrating yourself was unnecessary. I thought it was a waste of time, and I thought that it would take the focus away from my goals. So I never took time to acknowledge myself. I was always focused on the goal. I was figuratively and literally climbing mountains. And I believe that getting to the top of the mountain would make me better, would make me happier, would make me more successful. But what actually happened? Was I at the top celebrating? Was I happier because I got to the top? The truth is, I was barely at the top, and I would know that I would get to the top, and I was already looking for the next mountain to climb. I was not up there happy. I was not up there celebrating. And I sucked at celebrating, right? And this constant climbing of mountain after mountain actually landed me in the hospital. So this was my arm because I was hospitalized from overwork and stress. And I took this photo with my work phone because I was telling my coworkers, hey, I might miss some of the meetings today because this is what I'm attached to. Just want to let you know. And I was working with one hand on that phone that was not attached to the IV. And I actually was hospitalized a few times before I learned the lesson of, hey, maybe this isn't how I want to live my life. And so through my journey, I actually learned you cannot be meaner to yourself. You cannot work yourself harder. You cannot be tougher because your inner critic is pretty tough. Mine definitely was. But you can love yourself better. You can celebrate yourself better. And it's important to do so. And that's why I'm so passionate about this topic. Let's stop waiting for an excuse to celebrate ourselves. Because as Oprah says, the more you praise and celebrate your life, the more there is in life to celebrate. And so, what did you do today that was amazing and that you're proud of? And how did you celebrate the thing that you did that was amazing and that you're proud of? Now, consider this. What do you do when your partner or someone close to you gets a promotion? When your baby makes their first step at standing or walking? Maybe your niece or nephew scores their first point in their first soccer match. Or maybe when your pet learns a new trick. And then what do you do when you do something amazing? Whether it's you received an honor or an award, you completed a project, you met a health goal, you scored a point in a league game, or you learned a new skill. People don't celebrate themselves enough. If you are like most, we are incredible at celebrating others' achievements, regardless how big or small those achievements are. We're phenomenal at being their cheerleaders, but we neglect to do the same with ourselves. And I hear all sorts of reasons about why people don't celebrate themselves. Celebrating feels too self-congratulatory and too self-serving, or it wasn't really that big of a deal, it wasn't worth celebrating. Or if I celebrate now, I'll get complacent and then it'll hold me back from achieving more. So consider this. What stops you from celebrating more? What holds you back? We all have some sort of an excuse and reasons for not celebrating ourselves. So really ponder that. What stops you? What lies do you tell yourself about why you shouldn't be celebrating yourself? And often at this point, I get a question. What's the harm in not celebrating anyways? You might be thinking, I don't see why that's so bad. I haven't celebrated myself my whole life. I'm just fine. Celebrating myself seems unnecessary. I'm pretty successful now. And to bring this to life, I'm going to use a baby analogy. So imagine there's a baby, maybe your own, maybe a friend's, and they were learning to stand and walk. Now imagine if the baby started standing up, grabbing, and then fell. What would you say? Would you really say, why are you so incompetent? Come on, you're 9 months. You can't even stand on your own. You get up, you wobble, you fall over. I'm ashamed of you. Don't even bother trying. Imagine if you did say that to baby. Do you think the baby would keep getting up and trying? What would her or his confidence levels be? And what is it really? Baby kind of struggles, gets up, gets one leg, the other wobbles, falls, and you run over and you say, oh my gosh, did you see little Logan stood for a second? I'm so proud of you, Logan, right? We celebrate their every attempt. We encourage them at every step, regardless of the outcome. And this in turn keeps their confidence, keeps their motivation going. And that's why we need to do it for ourselves too. And so back to the question of what's the harm in not celebrating yourself? Yes, you might have gotten to this point in your life by not celebrating yourself, and you might have achieved a lot. But imagine if you did celebrate, where could you be now? You might be further along, achieving more and happy and more confident the entire journey. And so as a starting point, what is celebration anyways? What do you think celebration is? So celebration, it's mindset, celebration, and you can keep typing into the chat, but celebration is about recognizing that you are where you are because you've worked hard. Oftentimes we think celebration is just about bragging, proving that you're better than others, or giving yourself an excuse to do nothing. And that's not what it is about. It's about giving yourself credit because you deserve it. And in fact, recognizing yourself doesn't even have to be a public thing. It can be as private as you want it to be, because it's about you acknowledging yourself, giving yourself love. And celebration is also about being grateful for your life. When we celebrate, we remember all that is good. So that is what celebration is. Now consider, why does it matter? Land, yes, it keeps you motivated, but it's easy to identify areas where we feel like we're falling short, right? We're pros at finding our shortcomings. So imagine always sitting in that space. If you're constantly dwelling on all of your shortcomings or how far you still have to go, how motivated would you really be? It's usually these thoughts that hold people back. But when you celebrate yourself, when you give your attention and celebrate those little victories, you're essentially reminding yourself, yes, I am successful and I am on the right path, right? By celebrating every small step, it actually keeps you more motivated and focused on the fact that, yes, you're making progress. And it's almost like if you think about a project plan, you have this big goal, and if you have milestones along the way, it's basically like celebrating those milestones and recognizing, yeah, I'm getting somewhere, I'm making progress. The other reason why celebrating matters, it builds your confidence. So remember that baby analogy, celebrating helps the baby get back up and keep going. Every little step makes a difference. And I do have some people say, I don't want to come off as arrogant. And so oftentimes confidence is confused with arrogance. They are not the same thing. Confidence is knowing and believing what you do well and what you don't. Being able to really step into that truth. Arrogance, on the other hand, is a way to cover up your shortcomings. So there is a difference. And so what we're looking for here is confidence, not arrogance. And celebrating yourself also gives you more meaning and joy. If we're focused on every single moment and celebrating those, we are pausing, we're breathing, and we're finding more meaning and joy in every moment. And also, research has shown people who celebrate have better health, they have better coping strategies, they're more optimistic, take better care of themselves, tend to be less stressed. So why wouldn't you want to celebrate yourself? So remember that in this life, if you don't celebrate yourself, nobody will. So now we get into the fun stuff. That's a little background. Now it's, well, how do we celebrate ourselves with more intentionality? So If I've done a good job of persuading you that celebrating yourself matters, then you're probably thinking, okay, I should celebrate myself, but I don't have time. I don't want to have money to constantly celebrate myself all the time. So here's a 3-step process, and then we're going to address the time and the money piece. Okay. 3 steps to celebrating yourself. The first step is to pause. Second step is to reflect. And the third step is a physical action. And we are going to go through each of those steps. So the first step is pausing. We're often constantly rushing from one mountain to the next. So the first step is pausing. And one of my favorite quotes, nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. When I was traveling abroad this year, I was in Albania, and this man that I met said, I don't understand you Americans, people in the US. Why are people in the US always rushing, always in a hurry? At the end, it's just death. So why are you all rushing to get there? And that really stuck with me. Why are we always rushing to the end? And so the next time you find yourself running up a mountain, looking for a new mountain to climb and go without celebrating, remember to pause. So the first step is very simple, just pause. The second step, reflect. So the question to ask yourself here in this step is, what is worth celebrating here? For most of us, we'll think of some things and then we'll automatically jump to thoughts like, oh, it wasn't that big of a deal. There are other people that do it better. I don't want to boast. Or you're afraid that if you celebrate too early, it'll end up in a failure and you might look stupid for having celebrated that. This is your saboteur, your inner critic, keeping you small. And so I suggest reframing that question to, how might I celebrate this, even if it seems silly or small? What is worthy of me celebrating? And as a matter of fact, consider, how might I start finding a moment to pause and celebrate something each and every day, even if it is small? Thing is, even what we call failures comes with gifts and can be celebrated, right? So you might want to reflect on, well, what did I learn from that? How have I grown? What did I enjoy maybe on the journey? Learning something about yourself is something to celebrate, and it is growth. Something that might seem silly is also worth celebrating. So one of the things I used to celebrate was allowing myself to rest, because I sucked at that. So I would get sick and I would let myself rest and take a nap. And then I would celebrate the fact that I let myself rest, because it was something hard for me to do. So celebration does not have to be this big promotion or big thing. It could be something that you're working on also. So step 1 was pausing. Step 2, reflecting on what is worthy of celebrating. And step 3 is a physical action. And in order to explore this, let's talk a little about emotions and physicality. So you can raise your hand or put this into the chat, but who believes that your emotions impact your physicality? And I love Mel Robbins too, but say yes or raise your hand. Do you believe that your emotions impact your physicality? Yes, a bunch of yeses, definitely. Okay. And who believes that your physicality impacts your emotions? So how you hold your body, your physicality impacts your emotions. Say yes, raise your hand. Yes, a bunch of yeses again. Yeah. Most people recognize that their emotions impact their physicality, but they don't think that the way you hold your body physically also impacts your emotions and feelings. And so I want to do a little game. If you can stand up, you can stand up. If you can't, that's okay. You can stay seated to do this. But I want you to use your body, use your movements, voice, posture, whatever you have access to, and put yourself into a position of worry. You can only see it not working out. So how are you holding your body? What are you saying? How is your posture? Notice where your head is. So just put yourself, you're worrying. things are not going to work out, and just notice what is happening, where your body is, what your sensations are. Notice if there's tightness, what's happening in your feet, shoulders. Now shake that off. Now you feel confident things will work out. Put yourself in a posture of knowing things will work out. How are you holding your body? What are you saying? What's your posture like? Where's your head? How are your shoulders? Where's your energy? Notice your head if there's tightness or looseness. And just notice what's going on. Notice you're confident it'll work out. What is your body like? What shape are you in? And how did that feel? What did you notice as you shifted your physicality? What did you notice? A lift, tight to loose. So the thing to recognize here is your physicality changes your body chemistry. You can change your emotional state through your physical state. Changing how you hold your body impacts your entire body chemistry. There's been a lot of science behind this, right? And so that is why this step 3 is really about doing a physical action. Oftentimes we think our daily wins are no big deal. So how do we celebrate? If we do celebrate, we're like, oh yeah, that was something I did well, and then you move on. And how did that impact you? Probably minimally. And so what we really want to do is a physical action. And so some physical actions, you might be able to reward yourself with a hot bath or nice dinner or send yourself flowers. Those definitely work. But again, I often get people saying, I don't have the money, I don't have the time. So we are going to do a few that don't require time or money. It requires a few seconds, okay? This is participatory. I invite everybody. This is a way to do physical action to celebrate yourself. I want you to take your favorite arm and put it up. Whichever favorite arm, put your favorite arm up, and you just pat yourself on the back and say, good job. Yeah. Second way to do it, take your next favorite arm, or it could be the same one, put it up, and you high five. Awesome job. And you high five yourself. I like to actually do this with I stand and then I do a jumping high five, but it is a high five. Third way to do it is put both arms up and you just hug yourself. And you say, good job, Amy, you did amazing. And the last way that you can do a physical action is you put both arms up and imagine a curtain opening in front of you. And as the curtain opens, you say, yes, I know I am amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I did awesome today. And you can actually do this at grocery store. You know how they have those sliding doors, and as you're going into the grocery store to buy yourself a treat to celebrate yourself, as the doors are opening, you walk in and you say, yes, Trader Joe's, I am here to grace you with my presence because I'm amazing. And then you can go in. And I actually did that once, and there's this little girl that saw me do it, and she stared at me and I was like, oh, hello. And then she walked out the grocery store, and as the door slid open, she walked in and was like, yeah, and it was the cutest thing. But the thing with these physical actions, it is a physical act. It makes you laugh. So I saw a bunch of smiles, which shifts your mood and literally changes your chemistry in your body. It is hard to be jumping and high-fiving yourself and have that inner critic tell you, oh, that's not good enough. This isn't worthy of celebrating, right? How many of you can jump high-five yourself and then be self-critical? Right? And it only takes a few seconds. So it is a physical act that actually shifts you. And you can come up with your own with these physical actions. I had a client that told me that he played a lot of sports, and the way that they celebrated themselves was slapping each other on the butt. So every time he did something amazing, yeah, good job. And he just slapped himself on the butt. So you can come up with your own physical action. So the 3 steps, how do we celebrate? Step 1, taking a pause. It's really simple. Just stop. Step 2, what did you do today that was amazing that you're proud of? If you think you don't have anything to celebrate, think some more, right? There's so much in life to celebrate. There's firsts, transitions, the fact that you're here, the fact that you woke up this morning. And then step 3, a physical action. So picking one of those actions and saying, yeah, good job. So really, what do you want to celebrate, big or small? So now we are going to do an exercise, and this is where your paper and pen come in handy. We are going to do a love letter exercise. And so I am going to turn on the timer, and for 10 minutes, I want you to write this letter to yourself. So dear blank, whatever your name is, I am your confidence, the part of you that has and always will innately be here within you and will never give up. I'm telling you that you freaking rock because with love, your confidence. And so I'm going to start the timer now, and I want you to pick up your pen and write as if your life depended on it. Why do you rock? Okay, put your pens down.
Awesome. I love that activity, this whole thing of writing a letter to yourself. And I think it's a powerful tool because, one, we usually don't have these inner dialogues with ourselves, and we never really stop to really say, I really appreciate this about you. We're really good at doing that for other people, but to do it for yourself is so hard. I don't know.
Yep.
It's just what
Yeah.
inspired you to create this program? Because this is a new program you've done, right?
Yes. Yeah. What I realized is a lot of people struggle to say the things that they're amazing at. And they pause a lot to think about the things. So they might say, oh, yeah, I did that thing, but, and then they rationalize all the reasons why it wasn't amazing. And so the first time I actually did this exercise was with a client, and I told her, just for 3 minutes, write all the things that are amazing for you and don't stop. And the fact that I said, don't stop to think about it, do not lift that pen, just keep writing like your life depended on it. She just kept writing. And what she discovered was the more she wrote, the more it was easier to write it. And then afterwards, when I asked her to read it out to me, it was so impactful for her because it's also easier for us to tell ourselves. And then when we have to share it with somebody, and that this actually, by practicing this, it makes it easier for you in the work environment to speak up and to self-promote yourself. Like you were saying earlier, in corporate America, we need to learn to self-promote. Right. Scary. And it's also challenging for people to self-promote, right? So it's an exercise of learning to self-promote. There are so many benefits to one, writing that to yourself and being able to read it out loud to somebody else and then having them even confirm and tell you, yeah, you're amazing.
No, yeah, it's for me, motherhood was what really sparked me to change this, what I call bad habit of being self-deprecating, because I realized that my daughter is always watching. Leon, you talked about your upbringing, and for my upbringing, my mom, she worked so hard, but she never, it was always about her, other people and her family and taking care of other people. It was never about her. And I realized that I didn't want that for my daughter. I want her to celebrate herself. I want her to recognize that the hard work she's put in should be recognized. And I realized that if I don't do it for myself, I'm modeling that. She's watching me. And so for me, being a parent was really like a big wake up moment, like was a wake up call, because I was like, my daughter is watching everything I do and I'm a role model for her. So if I'm being self-deprecating, if I don't talk about my wins, how is she going to know to do that for herself?
Yeah, definitely. And I've actually had families do this together where the entire family writes their own love letters and then they read it out to each other. So the parents are showing their kids like, yeah, we can all celebrate each other. And I'm hearing you write about your thing. And it's great for families. It's great for teams. Like there's just so many benefits to being able to do this. And you're so spot on. Kids are watching us. And so we're modeling certain behaviors and things. And so if we can learn to celebrate ourselves, we're also teaching our kids to celebrate themselves and that they're amazing.
Yeah. And I think also in the corporate world, it is about self-promotion because you see, having been in corporate America for so long, you see the people who are elevated are not always the best performers. They're just good at either managing up and talking about their wins and how great they are. They're the ones that are first to speak in meetings, right? And talk about their accomplishments and what they did and even take credit from other people, right? And so my big wake up call in corporate America was like, this shit is unfair. And so unless I advocate for myself and say, I've done X, Y, and Z, if I didn't advocate for myself, I couldn't wait for someone else to advocate myself because I could be waiting forever. And I think that was like the rule for corporate America for the folks who are watching right now. Make sure, and this is not about bragging, make sure people recognize the hard work that you put in because you worked hard for it, right? Because if you don't take the credit, someone else is going to take the credit. I promise you. Your boss, the asshole coworker, make sure you take credit.
Yeah. And again, like that, there's this fear of, oh, I'm going to be arrogant. And that's what I was saying. There's a difference between arrogance and confidence. Confidence is, I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not, right? Like you put me, I have the worst sense of direction. My husband always makes fun of me. Like I'm in my own house and I can get lost. I know what I'm good at and what I'm not. And so confidence is about recognizing where you are. Arrogance is trying to hide your shortcomings. And so it really is around, how do I be confident? How do I speak up confidently about what I'm good at and promoting myself? For the longest time, like I said, I was raised to, not show off and not speak up. And for the longest time on my performance reviews, I kept getting, you need to lead from the front. I was like, what the hell is leading from the front? But I'm not boasting. That's a good thing. But that doesn't get you ahead in corporate America. You need to lead from the front. You need to speak up. You need to actually say, what am I good at? What am I doing? Because nobody is there watching to see, oh, are you actually doing a good job or not? They're too busy trying to promote themselves. And so you need to actually be able to promote yourself and share, what am I doing?
And I think also, I think a lot of that in terms of our parents' upbringing or whatnot has to do with the immigrant background or people who come from like maybe lower socioeconomic backgrounds, like which my family did. It's like succeeding in the real world or being an entrepreneur, start having your own kind of store, something is much different than succeeding in the corporate world. It's just a different animal, right?
Yeah.
Hard work can get you to build a business from scratch and then grow it. But that won't like the hard work doesn't necessarily pay off if it's not recognized in corporate world because other people take credit, right? It's like it's just a different animal.
Yeah. I'm gonna close it. But I would also add that even as an entrepreneur myself, like I can't go and not speak about what I do well and what I don't right now. Who the hell is going to want to hire a coach that sucks at what they do? And so I have to be able to say, yeah, this is what I'm good at. This is what I focus on. This is how I help you and help people.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why would anybody want to work with me?
Exactly. And like for me too, I've talked about this with in other Let's Talks and microlearning. I'm an introvert, so I like to be behind the scenes, but I realized to grow my business, I had to elevate my voice. I had to speak up. In order, if you want to empower other people, you need to have a voice, right? Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things where it's not just bragging, but if your desire is to help people, how can you help people by staying small?
Yeah.
Right? You have to elevate your voice. You have to recognize what you do.
I was going to say, for me, writing it down, I never in work and stuff, never got that imposter syndrome. Now, yeah, for sure. I really, because it's very conflicted. Yeah.
Tell me more.
So I do have all these beliefs in myself. The last thing I wrote down is I am me and there is no other me. But at the same time, I don't think me is important. So yes, I can give myself all these affirmations and yes, I do believe them. Mm-hmm. But on the flip side of it is, but I'm still not that important. I'm just a grain of sand in a big ocean of sand.
And each sand matters.
But aren't we all, though? I'm not trying to discount what you're saying, but it's like all of us feel that way, not just you. And you are so special. You're so beautiful. You have such a kind heart. I know your children love you. I love seeing your posts. You're such a positive person on LinkedIn, but we all feel small and little. That's why I call all of us raindrops, including me. All of us are raindrops. What we do seems small and inconsequential, but when we come together, we become the ocean. And all of us are small, but we have so much power to change those around us. And so I just want to let you know, I think you're special. I think you're amazing, but it doesn't really matter what I think. What do you think? And I think that's the most important thing, right? But I think you're amazing.
Yeah. And to add to what Lan has said, like each one of us have such a special story. And that's part of it when you do the breakouts and you hear everybody's story. Everybody is a rock star. Everybody has their own story. Everybody has gone through their own shit. Everyone has tough inner critics, but everyone is also freaking amazing and everyone rocks in their own unique way. And it's about recognizing that you are amazing and other people are also amazing. Everyone has their own story. Everyone's been through their own things.
Hi, this is Janelle. I just wanted to add, because I was in the same group with Anne and Katie, but Katie, like when you shared your story, it inspired me, right? Because I heard, even though you didn't feel like you were coming across that way, I was like, wow, she knows who she is. And I think that the fact that you recognize that you are just a grain of sand, it means that you understand that all of us are part of the whole. And what makes us strong is the fact that we are part of a whole, and that not one sand is important. All of us together matter. So I think that's the fact that you could acknowledge, hey, I'm just a grain of sand, yeah, but you know, you're part of the whole ocean and the sea and everything. So you do matter, because by sharing your story, by being who you are, by carrying on your own journey, you're inspiring people around you and they just don't realize it.
Can I add something to this, Amy? I got emotional just now, but I think part of it is because we are in a society that tells us that we are only successful if we have a certain title, if we have a certain amount of money in our bank account, that we have a certain amount of followers. And that shit is so bullshit. And it pisses me off. And this is the reason why we have these conversations, is that all of us are beautiful. We have things to contribute to the world. We can be a force for good in our own way. And it's this whole notion of that we have to be a certain way to value ourselves. Such bullshit. And I think that's why I got so emotional, because I just want everyone who's watching this, who's on this call, everyone on this call, like you said, is unique and beautiful. And we just have to tap into that, right? Because it's all of the things we see in media, in social media, it's just bullshit, right? The people that we celebrate, like the Kardashians, it's just bullshit. And it pisses me off, because it's like the people that should really be valued are the folks who are day in and day out helping people, the teachers, the doctors, the people who are trying to make this world better. And the folks who are on this call, the folks who are watching it, just by you being attracted to this conversation, you already are a part of that process of trying to make this world better. So I'll just get off my soapbox, but I just wanted to say that.
+1 to that. And I will tell you, like, for all of us, and I'm in the same boat, you cannot hate yourself better. You cannot shame yourself better. You cannot make yourself feel worse. We are all amazing at that. And we need to stop that. And I know telling you to stop is easier said than done, because I do the same thing myself. And that's why I'm so passionate about this topic, because I don't want people to do the same shit I did and get hospitalized multiple times to realize that. And because I have a baby now, like, I want him to grow up celebrating himself and not think, oh, I need to be on this pedestal and doing all these things in order to be celebrated. Every single human being is amazing. And all of us can love ourselves better, can celebrate ourselves better. We don't need an excuse. We all freaking rock, and in our own ways. And with that, I want to leave with this quote, which is, the more you praise and celebrate your life, the more life you have to celebrate. Just keep remembering that. And so really, what can you start celebrating yourself with today? You could connect with me on LinkedIn, go to my website. I have a workbook on my website that's free, 9 Rules for Remarkable Women. Go and download it. I love all of you. I'm giving you all a virtual hug. So thank you for having me again.
Thank you so much. That was so powerful. Thank you so much, Amy. That was so inspiring. Thank you for everyone who came and shared. And we just all appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you guys. Remember,
Thank you.
know your value. Know your value because no one else will see your value if you don't see yours. Don't let anyone take your shine. Bye, everyone.